Hello, and welcome to today's episode. The Bible is referred to as the living Word of God. It isn't a book that is meant to simply be read. It is a perspective-altering substance that is meant to be ingested and absorbed into you. And when it becomes a part of you, it changes you. And it is meant to. A psalm is a spiritual song based on a profound, foundational insight that is expressed in the form of music, which is usually plucked out on a harp. This is my own paraphrase of the Psalms. Now, there is an important difference between a paraphrase and a translation, and it is important to understand what that difference is. A translation takes a text word by word and finds the most accurate word in another language to convey the meaning of that original word. But sometimes getting the details right can come at the expense of the big picture. For example, the literal translation for a butt dial and the literal translation for a booty call could end up being exactly the same if they were translated very literally into another language. But we all know that those are two very different ideas. A paraphrase, on the other hand, is attempting to capture the spirit of the idea that is being expressed. But both approaches have their own disadvantages. Sometimes, the most literal translation for each word, while technically accurate, loses something in its translation. For example, if you were to translate the phrase, "cat got your tongue," into another language, it would make no sense to them. Why would a cat grab your tongue? What are you even talking about? In order to convey the original idea, you would have to find out which saying is used in that other language to express the same concept. But it might not involve a cat, or even any animal at all, so the literal translation would not be a very accurate one. But in a case like the one that I just described, the idea is more important than it is to stick to a very literal translation that loses all of the intended meaning. However, because paraphrases are an individual's interpretation of the underlying idea, instead of a rigorous academic translation of the word, they are not as accurate as a translation is. A paraphrase is a lot more subjective, and that makes it much more susceptible to interpretations that are way off the mark of the original text's meaning. The focus of a translation is on detailed accuracy, and sometimes the broader picture is not conveyed very clearly as a result. The focus of a paraphrase is on painting that big picture, but it often loses the accuracy of the finer details. Both of these are useful, as long as you understand which is which, and what the disadvantages to each approach are. That is why I recommend using both an accurate translation, like the New American Standard, and a responsible paraphrase. Psalm 10, Part B, verses 12 through 18. Now emerge in your heights, Most High, displaying all that you are for us to see. As the mighty Creator, raise your fist up on behalf of those who are humble and left low. Do not forget the people who are always overlooked. What is it that makes mortals despise God and head off in their own low directions? Why do they convince themselves that in their case, their decisions will never have any consequences? Why do they tell themselves that they can successfully hide from the eyes of the Almighty, and that the Most High will simply ignore what they do? For you have seen every bit of it. You have had an eyeful of all of the abuse and grief, the harm that has been caused by their contempt. They have endlessly provoked you to take matters into your own hands. Those who find themselves completely abandoned by everyone else place themselves in your hands, for you are the defender of the defenseless and overlooked child who has no father to keep him safe. Backhand those who inflict their own evil on this world and break their arm so that they can no longer damage the innocent people around them. Dig up the pain that they have caused and expose their wickedness until there is nothing else left to uncover. For this is the reality, that the Most High holds the position of king forever and ever. He has always been the Most High, and he always will be. Nothing will ever change that. The hordes of resentful rebels that try to dethrone him lose. They crumble into dust and blow away to some other place beyond his paradise. But even though you are the Most High, you take the time to hear the heartfelt desires of the people who have always been overlooked by everyone else. You pay attention to each word that the humble person voices, and you speak words of encouragement back to them. You strengthen their hearts as you give vindication to the oppressed and justice to the defenseless child who lacks a father's protection. You do all of this so that mankind's reign of terror on this earth will not be able to continue any longer. I pray that whatever voice God might choose to give me in this world, he would also give me the words that I should use it for. These words have meaning for me, and if they had some meaning for you as well, then I am truly grateful that we have both been given a gift from above and from each other. Have a good day out there, my friends.